taking those options away. So it's only going to be a one-size-fits-all solution.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So they're not going to look at it on a case-by-case basis. Here's the document. It doesn't matter how old you are, whatever your sort of exemptions are. It doesn't matter. It's all here in it's going to be all here in your documentation. They want vaccine certificates to be digital, of course, so that all countries can verify them with a QR code. They call this binational, according to the documents. In fact, most of the countries on this list asked for this standardization of vaccine certificates. So those countries on that list were like, we need a standard. QR code, digital. This was a problem for countries that wanted to validate other countries' COVID vaccines during the pandemic. Europe could validate all EU vaccines, but most countries could not validate across borders. These codes should also digitize information about where the traveler is going and where they have been. That's in there. Here's the vaccine passport documentation language that was changed. This was already done in the passenger locator forms. Documents containing information concerning travelers' destination should preferably be produced in digital form, when paper form as a residual option. Such information should not duplicate the information the traveler already submitted in relation to the same journey. But now they want this standardized and built into vaccine passports. I mean, this is crazy. And every time we had to travel, this drove my wife crazy because she's the Virgo in the family. So she's the one that does all the documentation. So when we're flying, we had to put in passenger locator forms every stinking time. So not only do we have the information, like we're already traveling somewhere, now we also have to fill out these ridiculous passenger locator forms. We almost missed our flight like 3 different times because of these stupid things.
Well, and think about that. That plays right into the 15-minute city thing. Like you'll probably be filling those out for that scenario.
Yeah, I need to travel more than 15 minutes. I need an exemption. So here's my paper. Let me travel. Yeah, see our whole video last night on the 15-minute cities explanation. Watch that video. So the Czech Republic is also concerned that the committee that runs the next pandemic is gender balanced. Here is their edit. This is the Czech Republic made an edit to the document about the emergency committee. They want gender balance. The WHO, including through the WHO Academy, shall provide them with support as appropriate and underlined. At least one member of the emergency committee should be an expert nominated by the state party within those territory that event arises. But we want gender balance. India's edits include augmenting the term surveillance and other terms like that. So this is in the vaccine passport data, and for some reason they have that in a column form. In particular, definitions of health products, disease outbreak, epidemic, pandemic, and public social measures, risk communication, etc. Definition of surveillance also should be further augmented for community-based surveillance. Syndromic surveillance, case-based surveillance, laboratory surveillance, genomic surveillance, and event-based surveillance. Genomic surveillance? What?
Oh, okay, hang on. Yeah, no, I was gonna call that genomic surveillance. So this is like you can no longer opt out of like having your genome run. They just want your DNA,
right,
and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
Wow. Attack of the clones. It's coming.
Malaysia also added to this list. They've made changes. Malaysia proposes that even non-WHO states should be compelled to comply with this, in this edit, health measures taken pursuant to these regulations, including the recommendations made under Article 15 and 16 by all state parties and applied in a transparent, equitable, there's that equitable stuff. State parties should also take measures to ensure non-state actors operating in their respective territories comply with such measures. So even people who are not part of the WHO states still have to be a part of this. That's what they're saying. This document gives the WHO a lot of power, not just in pandemic, but in pandemic potential, specifically with these edits by the United States. So the United States gives the WHO pandemic powers even when the event has not been determined to meet the guidelines. Way to go, the United States steps in with their edits on the document. So, it's not an emergency? Well, the United States is still going to cede power to the WHO in this instance. Isn't that amazing? It's not an emergency.
Think about that.
Here you go.
It's exactly like the little aliens that are in the toy machine on Toy Story. You know, the claw. That's what they want everybody to be, because it's like anything that you create, you're going to discriminate against somebody, but they're talking about no discrimination. Like, that's impossible.
Right. Yeah. And well, no discrimination at all. And then also now, if it's not an emergency, it doesn't really matter. You still have the powers, right? This is like the United States not ever declaring a war. So we still go to war, but we never declare a war. Congress doesn't have to sign off on it. But hey, we're still in all these wars anyway. So we don't have to call it that. But here's how the United States changed it. Where an event has not been determined to meet the criteria for a public health emergency of international concern, but the Director General has determined it requires heightened international awareness and a potential international public health response, the Director General, on the basis of information received, may determine at any time to issue an intermediate public health alert to state parties and may consult the emergency committee in a manner consistent with the procedure set out in Article 49. So again, if it's not an international concern, we'll still give you the power.
So does that mean we're basically fighting for democracy only until this is implemented? Because then democracy goes out the window. Like, it's like this. Yeah. That's like our beacon. We are the beacon of democracy, but it's like, yeah, only until this is implemented, then we're done with democracy.
Yeah, and I guess the idea of democracy.
Well, it's fine because we can vote
out the window anyway. Yeah,
we can always vote the WHO out, right?
No,
we can always just vote them out.
No, you can't. As an unelected body of billionaires run by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, funded almost largely and almost entirely by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, you don't get to vote them out. They're actively involved in this. I have to imagine while this meeting is going on, Bill Gates is literally on nonstop phone calls over the next few days during this meeting, ironing out all the details with these world leaders.